Yep, and the podcast, The Saturday Sermon.
The Saturday Sermon.
Look right here, man.
And thanks again, Roll Tide Willie. Nick, we got some business to take care of. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it's time to rise. It's time to thank the Holy One upstairs for another week of college football, but most importantly, another episode of the Saturday Sermon College Football Show. Nick, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. Another day, another dollar.
Another day, another dollar. If you look behind me, you see the blue car a little bit, but you see a bunch of boxes. It's real. The move is happening. It's happening in less than a week. It's literally happening in a couple days, and got a garage full of boxes. I have computers inside of boxes that I had to dig out for tonight's episode, and all that good stuff. My makeshift little desk that I have in front of me is literally a tool bench, some boxes, and a ton of cords that the fire department would come and shut my house down. Nick, what'd you do this weekend, brother?
I went to a football game. I got to see the world famous Purdue Boilermakers in action against the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Okay.
It was as good as you could imagine it was. Purdue's bad.
I heard the boys were trying to leave at
someone who's-
halftime, Nick.
Yeah, see, well, I texted him. I texted him beforehand. I said, before I even drove out there, I was like, you, everybody gonna care if I want to stay the whole game? He's like, no, I'll be fine. And sure as shit, got there. Now, I compromised. I left after with 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. But I mean, obviously the game was well out of reach. It was 42-3. No starters were in the game anymore. I saw a couple series of backups, and that was that.
Yeah, well, I would be bored at that game too. I actually turned it off. It was just, it's one of those games, it's when it's not competitive, there's no reason to really want to watch it anymore unless it's like, I don't know, unless there's like something like record-worthy happening, and there wasn't really anything record-worthy happening. Like if there was a chance Penn State was going to put up 100 points, I would stay tuned. I would watch the whole thing, but I just couldn't. I couldn't keep watching it, and I had to tear all my TVs down off the wall. I mean, you see TVs literally sitting down right next to me. There's about 6 or 7 TVs sitting on the table right behind me right now. But no, I watched some football and didn't really pay much attention to a lot of the games that were on because I was too busy packing. And I did sit down and watch the entire Georgia-Tennessee game. That was interesting. That was an interesting first half and an even more interesting second half as a Vols fan. I had a chance to watch the UFC fights. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed watching those. It's always great to see the GOAT win. Other than that, Nick, I literally, like I said, I just packed my happy tail off. But let's dive into a recap from this week. It is later in the week, so we're not going to spend a bunch of time talking about all these games, but I'm going to rip through some of the scores of the top 25 games from this weekend, starting with Colorado at Utah. Colorado ended up beating Utah, 49-24. Clemson beat Pitt, 24-20. Texas, of course, beat Arkansas, 20-10, a little bit closer of a score than I could imagine. Ohio State beat Northwestern, 31-7. Alabama beat Mercer 52-7. This one was one that I would not put on my TV. I would refuse to put on my TV. The University of Illinois beat Michigan State 38-16. We had SMU beating Boston College 38-28. Notre Dame beat Virginia 35-14. Penn State, of course, as we mentioned, beat Purdue 49-10. That game was over in the first half. We had South Carolina beating
Over in the
Mizzou.
first drive.
Yeah, I agree. We had South Carolina beat Mizzou 34-30, a lot closer than what I anticipated the game to
Ball
be,
game.
but the right team won the game. Arizona State upsetting K-State, which we pretty much called this one, 24-14. Boise State beat San Jose State 42-21. Oregon just barely slips past Wisconsin 16-13. Georgia, of course, beat Tennessee, and honestly, I'm not even mad about it. 31-17. Texas A&M beats New Mexico State 38-3. Iowa State finally bounces back, and they're on the winning trail again, beating Cincinnati 34-17. New Mexico upsets Washington State 38-35. Kansas found a way to beat BYU, which they're shocking a lot of people right now, 17-13, and finally
They are on a tear.
they are. But finally, UNLV beats San Diego State 41-20. Nick, anything worth note on any of these games outside of Oregon? Looked like week one Oregon this week.
Man, I mean, I think a couple things here. I with Oregon, I mean, it shows they are mortal. I mean, it's something I think we knew.
Yeah,
They've been rolling, and I mean, but the big thing is they're the number one team for a reason. They found a way to win, no matter how ugly it was. They found a way to win, and it's hard to win football games. And I don't care how good they are this year or how not good they are. Camp Randall at night is not a very friendly environment. So you know what? It happened. It did show that they are beatable like everyone else. But I mean, that's college football.
it also seems this year every time we start riding someone's coattails, there's a week that happens where they look mortal, and that week where they look mortal is when they end up losing. If Oregon was going to lose a game, it was going to be this one. I truly believe that. This is the one that they had in the regular season. This is the one that that upset was written all over, and they found a way to make it happen. They found a way to win the game. But out of all the games that we've said this year, and the teams that when they, we were talking about Texas and how incredible Texas were, and then they got dominated by Georgia. We were talking about how good Georgia is, and they lost to Alabama, or they lost pretty. I mean, a pretty embarrassing first half to Alabama, but they lost the game to Alabama. We talk about how good Jalen Milroe looks, and then all of a sudden they struggle against this team, struggle against that team, and then all of a sudden Vandy hits and they lose to Vandy. So I'm done talking about teams looking like superpowers. I'm just going to say they all look pretty mediocre. I went on a rant about how good Penn State looks and how I think that Ohio State was going to struggle with them and lose to them. And what happened? Penn State came out and they did not play offense at all that entire game after the first half, or after the first quarter, honestly. So I'm done saying teams look great. I'm done saying these teams could potentially be national championship qualifiers. And from now on, I'm just going to say these teams are okay. They're better than okay.
This thing is wide open,
It is.
and it's literally the best year for this. Could you imagine if there was a four-team bracket this year?
You couldn't decide.
First off, the SEC would be having absolute fits. I mean,
Agree.
more than usual. They're always complaining about something, and Mr. Sankey would be having a massive bitch fit because who who do you get who do you get in there? I mean,
Yeah.
but you know what? I always said it from the jump. I said four teams is never going to be enough because you're going to run into something just like this. But most seasons, it's ended up working itself out.
Yeah.
And with as much parity and how things are going this year, what we see right now could look drastically different in 2 weeks' time.
Agree. Agree. Big thing too is don't be surprised if we end up seeing a 16-team playoffs in a couple years. I really see a 16-team playoff taking shape. I really see a 16-team playoff happening and working out for the better because there's just too much parity right now, and there's so many outside influencers that are influencing the outcome of the games. When it comes to poor officiating,
Southeastern Conference.
well, when it comes to poor officiating, when it comes to NIL, when it comes to the portal, when it comes to all of that stuff, that you're going to start seeing seasons. I really do believe this is the new norm in college football where you're going to start seeing seasons where teams are great and then all of a sudden a team that's not very good has a week and beats them. And it's always kind of been like that, but I think even more because teams are able to kind of balance the playing field out and pay guys and give kids opportunities that they wouldn't have at other schools because they're, really good quarterbacks, but they're not good enough to be the number one quarterback at Alabama. Like, just imagine if the portal was so wide open when Mac Jones, when Tua, when all of them were on that, and I think Bryce Young might have even been on that team at Alabama. Just imagine, and Hurts, no, it was Hurts, Tua, and Mac Jones. Just imagine if the portal would have been as prominent as it is now when they were all together. I guarantee you those three guys wouldn't have all three stayed at Alabama.
I mean, I think it depends on where, if it was an initial thing, if the portal just started, that's one thing. If it was years down the line, because I mean, the only programs that I think can hold on to guys were a Nick Saban program, but now he's gone, and you really don't have anybody else that's truly like that. He was one of a kind that can do it. Kirby's really not in, that Nick Saban mold. There's really just nobody like it that can keep these teams together. And now, yeah, you're right. Everybody's bouncing around. They can play really wherever they want.
And a lot of these kids want to play now, and that's the thing. We're in that now mentality. I mean, in everything we do, we're in that now generation where they want everything immediately. They want things at their disposal. They want to be able to grab. I sound like a boomer right now, but they grab their smartphones and they're able to have all the answers to every question that there is in the world. And we're in a helicopter.
It's instant gratification.
Instant gratification, but we're also in a helicopter parent generation as well. I mean, you saw it with the first pick last year with his father, with Caleb Williams' dad. I mean, we're in a situation right now where kids want things now and kids have availability to get things now with something as simple as a tweet saying, I'm done with this place, or something as simple as a message to a coach saying, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. What can I do? Which 5 years ago they had that, but the rules were a little bit stricter with coaches connecting with students on other teams and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's just wild what's all going on right now, and it's also super exciting because you're going to start seeing teams that are more competitive that weren't competitive in the past. And we're going to get into one of those today with Indiana.
That's the truth because I mean, if none of this existed, Signetti can't bring some of his guys in.
No,
I mean, granted, we can look at schedule all we want, and he is a great coach. He could have made maybe something happen, but to say they'd be 10-0 would be asinine to think.
Agree. So, well, Nick, man, good talk so far. Let's jump into, do you have any players of the week this week for our Ashton Jeanty Player of the Week award?
Yeah, it's a biased one. It's a selfish plug. Tyler Warren. I know you played Purdue, but I mean, it's just like the kid doesn't slip up. He does everything right. It doesn't matter where you put him. And it's like this kid is something else. He had 3 rushes for 60 something yards. He's 6'7", and he's a big dude, 45 yards, and just couldn't be caught running the football. Um, he's catching everything. He can walk the dog, fill up the Gatorade cooler, and even paint your back porch. Shout out Friday Night Lights. I have a discussion on him a little bit later, but I think he deserves some respect on a national scale in one particular award. But
If you say the
again, we can talk
Heisman,
about
that's the
that
dumbest
later.
thing you've ever said, but we can talk about that later. We can
No,
definitely talk
no,
about
no,
that
you know
later.
what? No, no, no. You said it's the dumbest thing I said. Now we're just in there.
Who does he
Now
jump?
we're in there.
Who does he jump?
All I'm saying is if
Who does
we're
he,
going
who
to
did,
look,
who does, if we're looking
listen
at the
to,
if
listen
we're
to
looking
me,
at the
listen to
top
me.
10, who does he jump?
He's 6 right now in AP poll rankings or
No,
in I'm sorry, in Heisman rankings.
no, he's
Yes,
not.
he is. Look it up.
No, he's not. I did look it up. Curtis Rourke is number 6, actually.
He was 5. Which list are you looking at?
I was looking at. Well, now we're gonna do this.
Yeah, we sure as shit are gonna do this. And let me preface this with saying I don't think he should win the Heisman.
I see Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Jalen Milrow, Curtis Rourke, Jackson Dart, Shador Sanders,
What are you looking at?
Cade Klubnik, Dylan Sampson, just the list that I usually use on the website.
Are you looking up odds?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not looking at odds.
You're looking up
Here was on 3,
You're looking at
on
on
3,
three.
for on 3.
On 3 is who decides the Heisman, right?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying the guy's getting a lot more love than he deserved, or than he was getting initially.
From on
And
3.
listen.
You made it
Here-
sound like
here-
you had the actual national Heisman.
I didn't.
Top, you literally did. You said what are you looking at? You literally you're talking about another podcast having him ranked.
On 3 is
6.
not. On 3 is a national media outlet. Just another podcast. Like it's just
Just
what we
another
do.
podcast. They're the same guys doing
You're
what
full
we're.
of shit.
It's the same
Either
guys
way,
doing what we're
this
doing.
is my point. This is my point. He's getting so much more respect now because people are realizing if you don't
On
even
3
interrupt
is a
me right
national
now.
media
If you
company.
shut your mouth, shut your mouth.
Yes, on 3 is this
Okay.
mega
Okay,
metropolis
Joe.
ESPN.
Okay, Joe. You act like they're us. You act like they're us
CBS,
10 people listening.
When I think of major media outlets, I think of
Listen to me.
CBS, NBC, and On3. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my God.
He's
Oh
good.
my
He's
God.
good.
You're looking at odds. Okay? Listen.
I trust Vegas way more than I
Here's
trust
the only
On3.
point I'm going to make. Vegas is there to make money. Vegas is there to make money.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because putting Tyler Warren in the top 5 wouldn't make him money.
Oh my fucking Lord. Would you let me actually
Yeah, go
talk my
ahead.
case?
All right, On3.
He,
3,
he should not
2,
win the
1.
he won't win the Heisman. You were such a piece of shit. He won't win the Heisman, and I'm fine with that. But if we're gonna sit here and you've said it yourself about Travis Hunter's stats, you say, "Oh, they're decent. They're nothing crazy. He shouldn't win the Blitnikoff, right?
No.
He's got respectable stats.
Yes. He's got
No
okay.
way.
He's got top 25 stats on both sides of the ball. So I'm not disagreeing
Okay.
with you. You're thinking I'm disagreeing.
Okay.
I'm not
Sure.
disagreeing with you.
Sure. No. Okay. So my point is, if we're going to give him the Heisman, which I'm fine with because this is the most outstanding football player award in college football. Okay. He's
Yeah.
doing things on both sides of the ball. He is a Swiss Army knife. Okay. But his stats are like, they're nothing crazy. Like I said, he's not going to win the Blitnikoff.
No.
If we're going to judge this criteria and we're going to give this man the Heisman for the versatility and what he's done, all I'm saying is I think Tyler Warren deserves a little bit of respect on his name because he is not only receiving, he's not only running the ball, he's throwing touchdown passes, he is a great blocker. He changes the game for Penn State, a Power 5, number 4 ranked program in the nation. So, yes, you can say whatever you want to say. I think he deserves a little bit more respect than he's getting.
Travis Hunter's getting it because he's playing 100 plus snaps a game, not because he's
That's
not be-
so
not
you get the
because he's
Heisman
a-
because you're on the fucking field 100 plays a game? That's the most ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life.
and he's not playing terrible. He's not playing top 10 in each position, but
Okay,
he's not playing terrible.
Okay, so
The thing about it
you
is
could throw it.
he is on the field
That's stupid.
making a difference for Colorado on both sides of the field, not just on offense because
That's-
no one else can do anything at certain times, not all season, but not because no one can do anything at certain
Give me
times, so they have
fucking
to
break.
lean on him. They have to lean on Tyler Warren because of the fact that your receivers can't catch the ball. They drop it 90% of the time. They have sparks, they have flashes, but I feel like every time a ball gets thrown too hard at them, they drop it, which Tennessee does have that same issue as well. I will 100% bash my own team in that. But it's the only person on their team that's really performing and having any kind of output right now. Their backs have kind of taken a step back this season, truthfully.
Their backs have been hurt. Okay, so because he's the only guy that's doing things, that should hurt him, or that should say, "Wow,
No,
this
but
guy's
you're
carrying
talking
a
about
freaking
you're
load
talking
on
about
his back."
you're talking about versatility. He's being so versatile because you guys can't complete passes, because you guys can't run the ball very well. I mean, you're running the ball good. I'm not going to say very well. That's me being
Yeah,
negative.
that's
You're not running the
very
ball.
dramatic.
You're not running the ball like you did last season, as dynamically as you did
no.
last
They're
season.
they're running the ball better than this year than they are last season for certain.
Both backs,
Yes.
both
Nick
backs
Singleton
are.
has been hurt. Yes.
both backs yardage
Less-
is the same as it was last season, or better.
Mike Yursich was atrocious on his play calling. It was 2 years ago. That's a total different story.
Statistically, last year they are running the ball better this year than they are last year.
You have another guy in the mix that can make plays, and you're also running the ball with Bo Perbula, and you're also running the ball and throwing it to Tyler
Oh,
Warren.
so you're throwing the ball more. You're running the ball with another quarterback. So your running backs are producing as good as they were last year, like you just said.
Nick Singleton has been hurt all
Okay.
year.
Has Katron Allen been performing as well or even better than he was last year per carry?
It's overall, I would say probably.
Okay. I was just wondering. I mean,
The
But
offense,
anyways.
the play calling was so bland last year.
Oh,
You got me ready to drive up to Jacksonville and fist fight.
well, pretty soon I'll be 5 minutes down the road and I'll just kick
Good,
your ass. It
good,
doesn't really
because
matter.
pause this-
all that
pause this
little
damn
all that
podcast.
little closet kickboxing and stuff like that. You can we can record it and we can
right,
Watch
cool.
me gouge your eyeballs out with my love. But no,
Okay, cool.
what I'm getting at though is what I'm saying. You know, I was being a little harsh there for content, but reality of it is, I understand your point. I do understand your point about Tyler Warren and being, you know, when you talk about, this is me being for real now. I was just messing around. I was talking shit. I was trying to get you heated because I feel like that'd be fun. But and I'm in one of those moods. Tyler Warren, he is really good, and he is the best tight end in college football. He'll win that award for sure. Best receiver in football, he won't win that award. That's going to go to an actual wide receiver, but he should be in the running for that award. I don't believe a tight end is going to ever be in the running for the Heisman just because of the fact that statistically, I feel like Heisman voters don't take into account all of the stuff that tight ends do when it comes to blocking in the box, when it comes to catching the ball, when it comes to blocking out of the backfield, which Tyler Warren does as well. He'll take, you know, that fullback position and he'll run out of the fullback a little bit and then quarterback and all that stuff. I think that's something that gets undervalued and underappreciated, but I also think that with the NFL and the MVP award, I think, you know, Quentin Nelson, there was a couple years in a row there where Quentin Nelson could have been your MVP. And he plays offensive line, he plays guard for the Colts. And that's tough for me to say as a Titans fan. But I think that your best player in college football should get nods for that award, and I don't think your best players in college football do get nods at the award based off of positions. No. And I think a lot of cases, too, in certain years, defensive players don't get that nod, and they are hands down sometimes some of the best players on their team. So with Tyler Warren's case, I do understand why you think he deserves the nod, but realistically, he's never going to get that nod, and he's never going to get that call to New York at the end of the season.
The last time a tight end won the Heisman, maybe the only time, was like 1942 or something like that, 1943, something insane. So yeah, no, I know there's no chance he wins it, and I'm honestly okay with that. But my thing is like, if we're going to give Travis Hunter the Heisman Trophy award based off of what they're saying, and as the most outstanding player, I don't understand how you could. You know, I think what Tyler Warren is doing is and has done.
Oh, it's
throughout
phenomenal.
I mean, again, what you say too about like, you know, there's a lot of people who don't really know football. Like, I
No,
guarantee you,
yeah.
if you look at his production and his grades, because you know what, especially on the college collegiate level and up, like you're getting graded for your performance play by play basis,
Mm-hmm.
like your success and everything. I guarantee it would be phenomenal.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know those numbers, but the
I
kid
would love to
just
see. I would love to see internally what their grades are. Like you
That's
look
what
at,
I'm saying.
yeah, you go
Yeah.
into a Penn State meeting room and look at it. Like there's no way he's not actually. You know, PFF. I wonder what his PFF grade is. That would be something that we could look up maybe for the next episode. But I imagine he's probably one of the highest valued PFF players in college football right now, if not tight end for sure, but in all of college football because the guy is doing everything on the field, on the offensive side of the ball. I just think here's my
He's
thing.
a freak athlete.
He's he's a high school quarterback turned tight end, turned massive tight end, turned.
He was a hooper. You ever see
Yeah.
his dunk highlights?
Yeah.
And he says he was supposed to be a better baseball player than he was anything else too. Like, kid can do it all.
Yeah, but then you look at I think too, and this might be taken the wrong way, not by you, but by people if they're listening. Penn State is just not one of those teams that people are willing to go to bat for in the media, as I mentioned, for wins and losses, but also for the Heisman race. I think that if Tyler Warren was doing what he's doing at an Alabama or a Georgia or a USC or one of those schools that have a big market appeal, not big market name, because Penn State has a big market name, but a big market appeal to the audience, to the media. I feel like he would be right now being talked about in the same light as Ashton Jeanty, as Travis Hunter, as those guys. I really do believe that. But it's the fact, I mean, again, it's the fact that he goes to Penn State.
I don't disagree with you. Penn State, and you know, there's plenty of things you could point at and look. I don't think any of them are fair, but
No.
yeah, they get more shit. I mean, I have plenty to talk about a little bit later, but you have plenty of media folks that are like, oh, well, what have they done this year? And over exaggerating all of their shit. That's a Penn State thing. That's not that's it's because of who they are. And
It's the
because
logo on their
they're fans.
chest. That's what I mean. They don't even have a logo on their chest, but
100%.
it's the logo on. It's their logo. It's all it is.
Well, technically, they got it.
They got that little small one on the neck, the collar, right?
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
like I said, you know, we can get off this topic, but I do believe that, you know, if he's at another school, if he's at a major school that's a media darling, he's getting those nods for the Heisman right now. And I think, personally, that's the reason why Travis Hunter is getting as much as he's getting from the media, is because right now Colorado is still that media darling, especially the fact that they're winning ball games.
100%.
My
And I mean, it doesn't matter
board-
that they're winning football game in the Big 12. You know, they're winning football games, and that's what they want to. That's what the people want to see.
And from everything I've seen this season, my Heisman board, I have him at 3. I don't even have him at 2. But we can move on.
Gabriel?
Huh? I have Gabriel.
Your Ashton Jinty play.
No, I have
All
Gabriel.
right, your
ahead.
Ashton Jinty player of the award.
Yeah, so my
No, I'm
Ash-
saying, right, your Ashton Jinty player of the award. We got a little
sidetracked. We can cut a little bit of that too. My Ashton Genty player of the week, I actually picked 2. First and foremost, I picked Jordan Tyson, Arizona State wide receiver. This week he had 12 receptions, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had another week with a great receiving line. He got the nod because they upset K-State. The media didn't think they were going to upset K-State, and guess what happened? This week, the lines completely flipped for their upcoming game this weekend. I think this kid's a stud. This kid's got a future in the league, and he played really well this weekend. Next kid, Ashton Genty Player of the Week award goes to the one and only Ashton Genty. Man, you are undefeated even in the bye week. Ashton Genty, Boise State, carried the ball 32 times, 159 yards with not 1, not 2, but 3 rushing touchdowns this week. The kid's a stud. The kid is still my front runner for the Heisman. The kid should be that kid should be the media darling of college football right now, for all the crazy stuff and all the fun stuff that he's doing and all the excitement he's bringing to the game and to a small market team like Boise State. I don't like his Twitch page or whatever it is, but everything else he's doing really well with. So those are my players of the week. Nick, news.
Oh man, we got quite a bit. Took a lot of notes throughout the, um, throughout the week, a lot of over the weekend and everything. Let's start off with the biggest thing that happened today, and that's Julian Lewis committing to. Well, actually, that's not even. I mean, we got even more news with Underwood going to Michigan. Let's start with that one.
How
$10
much
million NIL deal.
and where do you think that NIL money's coming from? Someone made a promise.
Some
Someone,
sack of shit that,
someone made a promise.
Runs a massive media company. Yeah.
Someone made a promise to, and they said they didn't want to put it into the collective, but they wanted to put some money in on a quarterback, and will do whatever they have to do as long as this person signs that NIL deal to come on and do some stuff with their media organization. And I believe that is the great Dave Portnoy. So congratulations,
Long
Dave Portnoy. You paid for your quarterback. And supposedly, the rumor is they're letting Big Cat and Barstool do it with Wisconsin next year as well. They are going to be, they're in talks with Wisconsin to be able to go ahead and pay for an opportunity to get a good quarterback at Wisconsin as well. So I don't know if that one's been 100% confirmed. I know it's been talked through. But the Michigan one, I mean, Sherrod Moore taking advantage of his alums, you know.
I mean, look, dude.
You got to pay to play.
There's got to be. What's that?
You got to pay to play today. I mean, you have to pay to play the game.
I hate it. I mean,
Yep.
I hate it. Look, I'm happy these kids are getting paid.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just paid an 18-year-old kid who's never touched a college football field $10 million
Yeah.
to come to your school.
Along with his education
Honestly-
paid for.
Yeah, but I mean, look, if you're getting 10 mil out the gate, unless you get hurt, you're not going to need that education, nor is he going to be at class. But man, my thing about it is I just think it sets just an awful precedent, and I just don't. There's got to be, first off, there's got to be something signed. Like, there's got to be some kind of contract or something to where he can't just run off on the plug, get the money, and go to LSU. That would be the funniest thing in the world. But there's got to be some sort of stipulations or something that's making this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what the fine print says, or if there is a fine print. I
Well,
hope
there
there's
is a
not. I
fine
hope
print.
it
Here
is.
is the quote. Everyone's like, Dave, how much were you involved? Listen, there are a lot of other factors. Was I involved in the call with the family? Yes. Did I get to know them? Are they lovely people? Yes. Did we pitch a plan? Of course we did. There's some fine print there.
I cannot stand that guy. I hope they don't find receivers. I hope they don't find receivers. I hope he says, I'm done with this shit. I'm transferring. I'm going to the SEC. Anyways, we have another big announcement with Julian Lewis flipping to the Buffaloes. Interesting move. I don't know if I like it for him if you're going to go play in a conference, like as far as your development goes, if you're going to play in a conference like the Big 12. I just don't think it's a great move, and I don't know if you have somebody in his corner that's actually making those things like known. I think it's quick for CU and Deion Sanders to recruit. I mean, he's excellent at what he does.
Yeah.
I personally also with like what's Deion gonna do? Is he gonna stick around? Is he gonna dip? I mean, what are your thoughts?
First and foremost, I'm getting a little gray right here. Just noticed that. That's great. I think this solidified the fact that Deion and Pat Shurmur are both staying at Colorado. I think there have been some interesting developments that have happened over the past couple of weeks in professional football. And I think that what I've been saying the past few weeks about Shedeur and his draft stock and who's going to end up drafting him, I think there's been a lot of changes with that. And I think that there were openings for them on the same coaching staff that Shedeur was going to get drafted to the team, which team he was going to get drafted to, and that's changed a little bit. I think the Titans won't hire him, and right now I think they either have the number 1 or the number 2 pick in the draft. The Patriots won't hire them. I do not see that happening in a million years. I don't think the Giants would hire them. And right now, I'm pretty sure the teams that are interested in Shedeur are Tennessee. They're also interested in Aaron Rodgers as well. Tennessee, the Raiders, and the Giants. I don't think there's a spot on any of those rosters outside of the Raiders. And I think there is an opportunity I personally think there would have been an opportunity for one of them to be a head coach for the Raiders if the things happen. And plus with Tom Brady now having ownership stake in the Raiders and Tom Brady being Shedeur's mentor, I think they were hoping that they lost the rest of the season out. And I don't think they're going to be the worst team in college football. And I think Shedeur's going to end up with the Titans. I really, truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I don't see any way in hell that Deion would get an NFL job. This would have to be years down the line.
We've seen crazier stuff happen. We saw Chip Kelly get one. We saw Chip Kelly get a head coaching job at a team that he should have won 10 Super Bowls with.
Sure, but Chip Kelly also led a
team
team to a national title and played at or coached at the largest levels. Chip Kelly has accomplished more as a coach. Deion has only coached also for 4 years, something like that.
Is it out of the question that Colorado can make some real noise in the playoffs?
Yes,
I'm not
way in left field.
It's not as far as in left field as you would think, though. I truly believe they're going to make the playoffs. I think the Big 12 is cannibalizing itself and allowing Colorado to jump to the top. And I think Colorado's doing it in a pretty impressive fashion towards the late half of the season.
The Big 12 is ass. The Big 12's bad. The teams that were supposed to be good are not even in the middle of the pack at this point. They're towards the bottom. You don't have a good football team in the Big 12. They are able to get by. Look, and this is shocking coming from me because of what I've, said in the past, but their defense, that pass rush, I'll tip my cap. They've played some good football down the stretch.
And their offense has played well.
But they're able to win and get... Yeah, but that goes without being said. My point is they're able to win in that conference because of 2 players. I mean, they have a couple other guys that are decent, don't get me wrong. But when you have a conference that's really just not across the board that great, I think you can do a whole lot of damage with just 2 guys because they have 2 Heisman conversation caliber guys. They have the Heisman Trophy winner. I really think Travis will win it on that roster. I mean, I don't think there's who. I mean, who would they match up well against in the playoff?
I mean, honestly, that's a tough one. I do think, though, that these SEC teams that are going to make it in have all showed that they can struggle against teams that are not as good as them. All of them.
I'm
You got
I'm I'm so happy you said that
you
as a
got
Tennessee fan because
yes, yes.
I'm gonna get into that a little bit later.
I
But
think you got Georgia who struggled with Kentucky. You got Alabama that struggled with USF and that struggled with
Ole Miss who lost to Kentucky.
Vanderbilt. You had Ole Miss that lost to Kentucky. You have Tennessee that lost to Arkansas. I think your SEC teams right now, and this is coming from like you said, a Tennessee fan. I think that your SEC teams could lose to anybody on any given day. And I know they say any given Sunday or any given Saturday in this sense, but I think your SEC fans
No,
or your
but I mean,
SEC teams are more likely to lose to a Boise State, to a Colorado, to an 11-12 seed in the playoffs. I truly believe that because of the fact that they have played highs of highs. That Alabama-Georgia game was the highest of high of all season, any college football. For Georgia, the highest of high was that game against Texas. Texas, I mean, they haven't really had a highest of highs, but I think they're going to have that the last week of the season, and I think they're going to eliminate A&M from the playoffs. They've all had this pinnacle moment and then have completely faltered afterwards. And then they've built themselves back up, but they haven't built themselves back up to that peak yet. And I don't think they're ever going to. And that's why I think that a team like a Colorado and a Boise State could slip in and beat some of these teams.
I I hear what you're saying. I don't think that they have the same type of guys across the board. I think those SEC teams are going to slip up against teams that are also pretty deep and physical. That's the difference in my opinion. But to your point, I mean, and I got notes. I got notes ready for a little bit later about it, but I think the SEC is getting there's people are mistaking something. They're like, "Oh, every team is just so good this year. They're just cannibalizing itself." I think it's just the fact that it's not so top heavy anymore.
No,
You have
no.
you have your perennial powerhouses
Yes.
who are just playing down to their competition. You have Georgia, who has shown a lot of, and it's not that they're getting beat by teams that are just showing great, or like Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat them. Ole Miss looked good that game, but Ole Miss didn't just look good. Georgia looks like shit. Okay,
Yep.
Georgia played terribly. You have LSU, who's also one of the top SEC year after year teams. They look terrible this year. They dropped a game to USC, who's bottom of the barrel of the Big Ten. You have Alabama, who lost to now Vandy. Vandy's up. I will say that Vandy is up, but they lost. They shouldn't have ever lost that game. But I'm
No.
gonna stop because I'm gonna lose my thunder for a little bit later because
But
I'm
to your point,
pissed.
though, it's like that all over college football, not just the SEC. You look at
Sure, sure.
Oregon with Boise State. I mean, they were literally a couple points away from the entire landscape of college football changing. And Boise State
Could you
being
imagine?
so, yeah, Boise State would be in the top four, top five. That's insane to think
It's
about.
insane.
And
Or
Notre
what
Dame
what
losing to
what?
Northern Illinois. It's
Yeah.
it's all over college football right now. It's not just the SEC. And I like this topic. I like staying on this topic and would love to stay on this topic because the ACC the same way. And we're so quick to we're so
I
quick to
think I
we're
think that I think the difference is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
what I was going to say though is we're so used to saying the SEC's
You
down
just
because
froze for a
they've
second.
you froze as well. You're so used to saying the SEC's down, and people are saying so used to saying are so used to season to saying the SEC's down, but it's because the SEC, as you mentioned, was so top heavy for so long, and you had one team that was just so much more dominant than all the rest. That I think that it became a equal conference as the other Power Four conferences. I think they're all in a level playing field come playoffs.
And I love it. But I think my biggest gripe with the SEC fan base is they're going to sit here and argue, oh, this conference is just so freaking good. You got all. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is an excellent conference. I'm never going to sit back and say it's not, but there's more to it. It's not because
Yeah.
every single team week in and week out is good in the SEC. It's that every team from the top down has been struggling and they're not as good as they usually are.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah.
So the whole notion of, oh, two loss team versus, and the SEC, you got people that are arguing a three-loss SEC program should make the playoff. I'm here to tell you that's bullshit.
I think that all depends on where that third loss comes from. I think if it comes in the
Well,
title, I think if it comes in the
I think
title game in a
chaos has
close,
to happen.
well, I think if it comes in the title game in a close fashion, I can see that being a world where that happens.
That's a little different,
But
regular season we're talking.
yeah, no. There's no reason why a 3-loss SEC team should get
Anyways.
in over a 1-loss Big Ten team.
Anyways, I'll get into more of that later. Speaking though of the SEC, we've said this earlier in the year. Brian Kelly has lost that team tenfold. Did you see on the sideline the the lip reading?
I didn't see the lip reading, but
He said stop walking away from me. Who the do you think you are? You're uneffing coachable. I don't know why I'm bleeping it out now like I've not dropped a couple
5 or
F-bombs
6, yeah,
already,
especially when I was
but
trolling you earlier.
yeah. Man, they're down bad. I
They
think
are.
that fan base and that team hates him, and I think he hates that fan base and that team.
I'll do
I
one
don't
better
think
for you.
this
I
is
think
a
college
very
football
healthy marriage.
I think college football hates him.
That's a different discussion. But do you th do you think he's at LSU at the end of the season,
No,
or do you think they mutually part ways?
I think they mutually part ways. I think if they don't
Do you think
mutually
he goes
part
back to
ways,
Notre Dame if Notre Dame drops?
I think they mutually part ways, and if they don't mutually part ways, it is going to be a brutal midseason firing next year.
Brian Kelly at
Depends on what they're going to do with Norvell.
They gotta get rid of his ass too.
I mean,
That one's bad though. I think that I mean it's just it does I mean you get stomped in Death Valley at night. You just do what you did to Florida, which we called as well. Um, man, they're down bad.
they are.
Let me see
What
here.
else we got?
Last thing, as far as that playoff goes, we've been talking, and you're saying you think that Tennessee's done, and I'm here to tell you that's not true. I think what is ridiculous is, and it's literally that recency bias. You have Ole Miss who's in, and Tennessee who's out.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, Ole Miss beat Georgia. Georgia played a terrible game. It's a great win though. It's a great win, but Ole Miss lost to LSU, who is completely faltered, and a bad Kentucky football team. The two losses, now don't get me wrong, Arkansas loss, not a great loss. It's a game they should have won,
Yep.
but it's a lot better of a loss than Kentucky. And then they lose to Georgia. I get Ole Miss beat Georgia, but Alabama beat Georgia and Tennessee just beat Alabama. I don't think they're out of the picture by any means. And personally, I think that they should be in still over Ole Miss. I
There's
think
going to
these
be
losses
there's
should I think these losses should weigh more than what they are.
there's going to be a chance where you are going to have an SEC title game with two people that are in the playoffs that have 2 losses, unless Texas finds a way to skate through, or an A&M. I mean, A&M has 2 losses, right? They just only have 1 conference loss. So you're going to
Do they have
find.
2 losses or 3?
I think they only have 2. But
Either way.
you might find a place where your SEC title game is 2 loss teams, and you have it where one of them becomes a 3-loss team that's beat one of these teams that's a 2-loss team ranked below them, and it's going to bump that team that's ranked below them up, or it's going to cause a bunch of controversy where they're going to keep that team in the playoffs with 3 losses. I think that's why the 3-loss thing is believable.
I think I'm talking regular season, non-conference champion 3-loss team. I'm talking at
yeah.
South Carolina if they win out. That's just to put in perspective. You lose 3 games in the regular season, you have lost a quarter of your games. You have lost 25% of your regular season football games. You do not deserve to be in the playoff.
I do think Tennessee is out of it, though. I really do. I believe the recency bias is going to play a big factor in that as well.
And it's wholeheartedly shit. I think it's bullshit, but I don't know. I don't think they're out just yet, but that's all I got as far as a couple talking points.
All right, so now let's preview some of the games that we are looking forward to the most this week. A couple of these are ranked on ranked matchups, and then we have one in there that is not a ranked on ranked matchup. It's a ranked on unranked. But, Nick, let's just go ahead and jump from the top, the one that everybody cares about this weekend. That is Indiana at Ohio State. Ohio State is currently a 10.5-point favorite in this game. 73.5% chance of winning. Indiana is on the hottest of all hot streaks right now. They are blowing expectations out of the water. You got Rourke, who is slowly climbing up the rankings, and he's right now number 6 in Heisman odds at plus 3,000. This game to me has upset written all over it, Nick. I don't think it's an upset of the week. I think it's an upset upset watch. I think if you tune into this game, it's got the makes of an upset. You have the Cinderella story. You have, right now, Indiana might be someone that everyone is cheering for behind closed doors. I think everyone wants to see Indiana have a lot of success this year. You can't not like Indiana. I did just use a double negative there. But, Nick, I don't think Indiana's going to get this one done. I think you're going to hear Howard to Jeremiah Smith quite a bit this weekend. I think Jeremiah Smith's going to be a big factor for them in this game. I personally think I would bet him with 2+ touchdowns if I was gambling on this game. Got to save some money. Bought a house. But, Nick, what are your thoughts on this game? I respect the hell out of what Indiana's doing, but, man, I think Ohio State's going to beat them.
Yeah, what did Dan Lanning say? The Cinderella story is over. Look, here's what I think will happen. I think this Indiana team's actually going to come out swinging, and I think they're going to throw some haymakers right off the jump. This team, under Curt Cinetti, has a swagger about them that Indiana has never seen before.
Nope.
I personally would not doubt if Indiana jumps out in front ahead early on, because they are in a weird way playing with house money. I mean, if they lose big, they're probably cooked.
That is the only
Strength
way.
and schedule.
Yep, that is the only way I see them still not getting a playoff mention, is if they get cooked.
Now, what's that number to you?
10 points.
Really? I think they can lose by 10 and they're okay. I think it's got to be close.
I think over 10. Anything over 10, I think they're cooked.
I mean, their strength of schedule is in the hundreds. Don't get me wrong. What they've accomplished still, it is hard to win football games. And they have throttled everybody except for Michigan.
Even with their backup.
Exactly. I think at the end of the day, Ohio State just has too much. And I think that's probably the difference maker. Now, one thing it is worth pointing out, like I said, I think that I could see Indiana coming out and punching them in the mouth. I don't know if Ohio State and Ryan Day has that swagger to completely not let that happen from the jump. I think they eventually figure it out and go on to win the football game. Um, Something to point out is that Oregon threw over took blew the top off of Ohio State, and they threw bombs on the Buckeyes. Guess what Indiana's pretty decent at doing? Just that. Denzel Burke has been suspect all year.
That
I
Oregon
think
game, I think they exposed him, and I think that Ohio State's going to
he
be a
should have
little
took
bit
his
more.
ass to the draft.
I think Ohio State's going to do a little bit more to protect him this game, or he's going to come out swinging this game.
So this is also a huge thing for the Buckeyes too.
Hmm.
A huge game for the Buckeyes too, because I mean, for obvious reasons, like if they lose this game, they're in big trouble.
Yep.
But my point is, they could go out and make a massive statement. I don't know what it looks like if they can do it, but if they go in and then just completely make this not a game right off the jump, I mean, I think they're really putting everybody on notice. Um, and it bodes well for them going into that rivalry game and then going straight to the Big Ten championship for a rematch against Oregon. I
Hmm.
think this can set the course for the Buckeyes in a very excellent way and kind of springboard them towards hopefully, pr- hopefully for them getting that first round bye.
Agree.
I
100% agree.
think, yeah, I
I
think, like I said, I think Indiana can come out is going to come out swinging. I don't think Cignetti's going to cower down. I think the better coach is in Indiana. I
agree.
think Indiana has the better coach, and I'm not sure how close it is.
He's done more with less in two separate places.
Yes, he wasn't born on third base like somebody we know.
No, he was born on. He was born in T-ball
The
and worked,
dugout,
and
he
worked
was
his way up.
born, yeah,
Yep,
yeah, yeah.
worked his way up
Um,
from JMU to Indiana and success at both places. And that's it's not a small feat, man. That's why he's the right man for that job. And but like I said, I think Ohio State's going to win by multiple scores. No disrespect to Indiana. I think Ohio State wins by multiple scores. I think it's going to be close, but I think that the way Ohio State, don't freak out, the way Ohio State played against Penn State, minus the ref debacle, and we're not going to argue about that tonight. I think that if they do that
Minus
against,
the terrible play calling
all right,
and
if they're able to play the way they played against Penn State against Indiana, I don't think Indiana's defense is going to be able to keep up with Ohio State's offense. I just don't think so.
sure, there's a talent gap and there's a depth gap with that talent. Um, like I said, I could see Indiana coming out guns a blazing at first. They may get up on Ohio State.
Hmm.
Take Indiana with the points maybe in the first quarter, um, potentially the second quarter, depending on how things look. But I think over time, that gap starts to. But we'll see, man.
Well, Nick, we both made good points. We both think Ohio State's going to win, right?
You know, I
All
hate
right.
him, but
It's tough to cheer on the bad guys. But let's talk about the good guys for once. BYU at Arizona State. The lines have shifted. Arizona State is now a 3-point favorite in this game with a close 55.9% chance of winning. Nick, ding, 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 this is my game of the week. If I had 7 TVs up in my garage right now, all 7 TVs would be focused and fixated on this game. I am more excited about this game than any game this weekend due to the fact that I really vibe with Arizona State. I'm very happy that they're able to do what they do. They have one of the best young coaches in college football right now. Excited. Nick, what are your thoughts about this game?
well, this is quite literally a playoff game
Agree?
because Arizona State right now is sitting in third place of the Big 12, and they are getting ready to play BYU, who's number one. Well, if BYU loses the football game, they now are 9-2. Arizona State is 9-2. They, oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. Colorado might be in trouble if that happens. Because BYU stays in. Oh, wow. I'm sitting here thinking that Kansas can ruin everything for Colorado and put ASU in. ASU controls their own destiny
Yep. Because Arizona State's only got two
because
losses.
that would put BYU in second. I think that hurts Colorado.
It does.
Yeah, I mean,
This is crazy, isn't it?
big. This is the week for Big 12 football.
It is. I would be.
This
I would be.
and-
I would
and-
be. I would say the last 3 weeks have been the week for Big 12 football. I think Big 12 football is coming down to the wire right now, and you're seeing a lot of games
Well, you
that are meaningful games that were not supposed to be meaningful games.
you have Iowa State sitting at 8-2 and fourth. It's a lot more far fetched for them. But you want to know the craziest part of it all? If you look at the college football playoff rules,
Yeah.
the top five highest ranked conference champions
Yep.
get in.
Yep.
I don't think this is going to happen. But you're sitting here with the first place Big 12 team ranked 14th.
Mm-hmm.
That's already lower than Boise State.
Yep.
You have the second place team ranked 16th. And then you have third and fourth at 21 and 22. There's a couple G5 matchups down the stretch that are going to be very pivotal. There theoretically is a world where the Big 12 is not in the playoff.
No, that's not. That is going to be a thing. If Boise State continues doing what they're doing to teams,
No. I'm talking about a second G5 team getting in the playoff
oh,
and the top five highest ranked conference champions being
a lot
no
has to
order.
a lot has to go wrong, and I think the game that relies on that is this weekend with Army at Notre Dame, which we can jump into here in a second. But I think if Army beats Notre Dame, that is where that's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see Army because all they have left really is Navy to play, correct? And they said this year,
Yeah.
they said there's that special clause or that special playoff clause where they said the Army Navy Bowl can be used in the playoff rankings, and they can hold off on the final rankings until after that game. So, yeah, I mean, if Army beats Notre Dame, Boise State continues to do what they're doing, you could see Army and Army and Boise State being in as
I mean,
automatic
you still have a
as,
couple
as,
other
as,
teams.
as automatic qualifiers for conference championships.
You have a couple other teams. I mean, Tulane is right there on the cusp as well. I mean,
That K-State game could have hold them
different
out.
things. Oh yeah, but these are all hypotheticals. I don't think it happens because I'm telling you, I think somebody's ranking jumps up. If Arizona State, who's hot, and they're hot right now. I think they have a fair shot. I really, truthfully think that they do. And I mean, if they beat BYU, which they're the favorite. Now here's the thing. Now because they're the favorite, I would stay away from it from a betting perspective
Yeah.
because that's just outright disrespectful if you're BYU, and that's bulletin board material. That's something you look at and you go out and play your best football, but I don't know who I like here because and that's the reason. That's the reason alone because if Arizona State was the dog in this game still, I think I'd like Arizona State a lot more.
Yeah.
but the fact that they're not, it's gonna be a good football game. Boys, BYU has been trying to lose every single week, and it finally happened, but they're getting disrespected majorly, and they've not won 9 games or for no reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think I don't know if it's warranted completely. I have it on my upset alerts as well, but I don't know, man.
It's not really an upset anymore, though, Nick. I think Arizona State beats
No,
BYU.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had it on my upset, but I crossed it out because I realized that the number changed.
Yeah, I
So
have
yeah,
I have
never mind.
Arizona State winning. I think we're going to get a bad case of what happened into Iowa State right now with BYU. I think they're going to drop 2 in a row before they start winning again. I think it's too late. I think it's too late in the season to drop. I mean, had that first loss against a team they should not have lost to. My opinion. Yeah, I got Arizona State in this game. Nick, who you got? Arizona State, BYU.
Give me BYU.
Okay. Next game. Upset alert of the year. Army at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is currently a 17-point favorite. 87.6% chance of winning. I'll tell you what. Notre Dame needs to watch out. Army is a much better version of Navy football. Man. Oh wait, was that final score 51-14?
It was stupid and
Oh yeah, that's right. Give me Notre Dame in this game. I think Notre Dame. I don't think Army's looked good the past couple of weeks. They are not the same team that we were ranting and raving about. They are playing tougher competition now as the season's going on. I think the only way we see a world where Army is able to win this game is if they can control the clock, and those 21 play drives, those 20 play drives, 18 play drives are going to have to be used in this game. If they are, I think that's when you see Army win, but they're not going to be. I think Notre Dame is better on, a couple weeks ago I'd have told you something different. Watching them the past couple of weeks, I'm not. They struggle with North Texas. They struggle with Air Force. Those teams are not as good as what we thought they were. North Texas isn't as bad as Air Force, but I mean the final score Air Force was what, 20 to 13 or 20 to 18 or something like that. But no, it was 20 to 3. No, whatever it was. No, I'm pretty sure it was 20 to 13 or something. Anyways, it doesn't even matter. I think that Army is coming down to the wire, and I think they're running out of gas at the end of the season, and I don't think they're going to be able to even hold a candle to Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame's going to end up beating them by multiple scores, but if I'm hoping for an Army upset. I really am. I want to see it. I want to see Army beat them, but I'm Notre Dame's going to do what they did to Navy to Army.
Could you imagine? It would be the funniest thing in the world that Notre Dame's 2 losses came from G5 opponents. A terrible one.
It was 20 to 3.
And I mean, they did lose to a very mid G5 program. So anything can happen, but Notre Dame, everything they do well matches up terribly for Army. I just don't see a world where, I mean, we thought that Navy could, you know, keep it close early. It didn't happen. Army is much better than Navy, but I
They're-
don't think it's gonna matter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't. The only world where I see this happening, actually, the only world where I see this game being tight, because I think 87.6% chance of winning is, I think that's even ridiculous. I think it should be in the 90s. I'm just being truthful. I think it should be in the 90s. The only world where I see this happening where the game stays tight is if Army's able to control the tempo and control the clock and milk as much clock as they can.
No, Notre Dame's defense is just too good.
Yep.
I see what you're saying, and I agree that's the only way they can get it done, but they're not going to get it done.
And I'm not even saying getting it done. I'm saying keep the game close.
Yeah, Notre Dame. What's the line on this?
17.
That's funny you say that because I was just going to say I think Notre Dame wins the game by at least 17 points.
So we're both taking Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Next
Not a
one.
question.
Nick, your favorite team in the world? Minnesota. Oh, wait. No, excuse me. Sorry. Penn State at Minnesota. Uh, Minnesota could be a spoiler here. I mentioned that earlier. I truly think that Minnesota plays up and Penn State plays down. I think you look at the line right now. I mean, 11.5 point favorite Penn State, 74.9% chance of winning. Minnesota beat Illinois. Minnesota beat Maryland. Minnesota beat UCLA. Minnesota beat USC. You think about that. Penn State, they didn't play their best football against USC. Penn State, they didn't play their best football against Illinois. Penn State played tight Wisconsin. Penn State played tight Bowling Green. I think we're in for a real treat. I really do think Minnesota could play spoiler over Penn State, but I'm not gonna bet Minnesota. I think Penn State's gonna win this game.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured I'd maybe go a little goblin mode in support of my team. Um, I got this on the street this past weekend. This nice young gentleman was selling really neat trinkets and little team things, and I saw Penn State Shiesty, and I said, you know what? Yeah, pay $15 for that. So here I am, and I fully intend on watching the game by myself on the couch with this thing on. Just me and Lucy.
You know, I've seen a lot of stupid things in my lifetime. What you have on right now is probably at the top of the list, and not because it's not something cool to wear. It's because it's you wearing it. I think this is like putting Pee Wee Herman in a set of golds. This is what I'm looking at right now. I think this is like taking Willy Wonka. I think this is like taking the whole Willy Wonka story and making him sell toilet paper for a living. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at. This is not you. This is kind of dumb. That was kind of cheesy. That was the worst $15 you ever spent. Actually, the worst money you ever spent was that Roll Tide Willy cameo, which you allegedly is not a cameo. But Nicholas, brother.
Spent a lot of money on this guy too.
Yeah, for a Halloween costume. Nick, that shiesty mask, don't ever wear that. Please don't wear that again. But anyways,
Okay.
Back to the game. I have Penn State winning the game. I think it's either going to be one or two things. I think it's going to be a tight game where Penn State edges it out in the fourth quarter, or it's going to be a blowout for Penn State. I don't think we see a world where Minnesota wins, but I think this could be a game where they could play spoiler in some way, shape, or form.
This one, I don't know if this is like PTSD from 2019, but this game does scare me a little bit. It Penn State should have a clear way into the playoff, but going to Minnesota late November, it's going to turn into the night. The sun's gonna go down. That's tough, and they have really not as much to play for, but this is one of those games that PJ Fleck coaches very well in. They are going to try to slow this game down. He's going to be rowing very slow. That little fucking reptilian with human skin on is just going to be meticulously running that clock and just burning it. And he's more than happy to play this game down to the wire and make it a one possession game. I think I'm at the point now where it's like, if Penn State were to drop this game, dare I say it, James, you got to go, brother. And I don't say that often. I'm oftentimes supporting, but that would be pure purgatory.
Yeah.
I don't think this Minnesota team's the same team that they had in 2019 that upset Penn State. I think Penn State is too good across the board. I think our quarterback is safe with the football. I don't think he's going to make bad choices. I don't think Minnesota has enough firepower offensively to go in and outscore Penn State. I could be wrong. I could be sitting here miserable. I'm supposed to go to a Friendsgiving with Brooke and some of her friends
Sick invite, friend.
that night. Yeah, that night. So I may ruin my relationship by being very upset if they lose. So, James, Penn State. James, I know you're watching this specifically. Please do me a favor and do my relationship a favor and take care of business like you're supposed to take care of business. Thanks.
Well, Nick,
No,
and
I think Penn State's got it though.
Penn State's got it. Yep. So we both have Penn State winning this game. Nick, Toilet Bowl game of the week.
Hey, this is a premier matchup. I got Northwestern versus Michigan.
Ooh. It's crazy to think that those two teams are toilet bowl teams.
Oh, it's
Well,
disgusting.
not Northwestern, but Michigan.
There's nothing going to be exciting about this football game. It's I honestly don't even know if I want to put it on Toilet Bowl because it's not I don't think it's going to be so bad that it's good. I think it's just going to be really bad and maybe comically hideous to watch. So I don't know if that fits criteria. I mean, you're the judge of that, but yeah, Northwestern versus Michigan, I think it's going to be atrocious.
Well, Nick, I got a firecracker of a game this week for the Toilet Bowl game of the week. It is going to blow your socks off, and I have a little bit more to pop and firecrack. I actually just threw that into the heater, so let me grab that real quick. Nick, we have the game of two teams that are evenly matched. One with a record of 3-7, the other one with a record of 2-8. Both teams just fired their head coaches. What game, you ask? What is the line in this game? Well, it's minus 2.5 points. Nick, the game of the week, the Toilet Bowl game of the week, the game that everyone in the country needs to be tuned in on. Charlotte at Florida Atlantic University. This is two teams that are coming to play. This is two teams to create a new path to destiny in the future under a new head coach. Nick, I'm just excited for it. I'm excited. Give me Charlotte. We're taking Charlotte.
Charlotte.
The head coach even showed up to practice the day after he was fired to hang out with the guys.
Biff.
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 Biff Poggi.
Biff was literally, there's him on the field with his arms spread wide open.
How could you fire that guy?
Yeah. That's my Toilet Bowl
I
game
saw
of
a
the week.
crazy I saw a crazy fact. I think it was Unnecessary Roughness talking about it. Every Owl team fired their head coach.
Temple?
Temple, Kennesaw State, Florida Atlantic, and wait. Yeah, who's the fourth?
Night Owls?
That's the
LLC.
different one.
If you need your
They're
designs,
undefeated.
reach out to Nick Reichert at Night Owl LLC. But Kennesaw State's head coach did the same thing. He showed up to the the rally before the team entered the stadium and gave them all hugs and handshakes
That
and all
was a
that
terrible.
stuff.
That was a terrible fire. That was outright disrespectful, and that one pissed me off. And they're gonna be bad for a very long time
I agree.
because of moves like that.
But no, this game is on my radar, man. I haven't missed. I'm coming out swinging again this week with another banger. Nick, you're gonna let you crash out. I'm gonna mute the mic and let you roll. Nick, it's time for you to do what you do. While I take a look at my shoes.
You know what pisses me off? I was watching a football game this past weekend. I was watching a little bit of FCS. just big football guy, that's what we do. Youngstown State beat University of Northern Iowa, and it was an upset. Good football game. I saw at the end of the game, UNI player down, upset. Not mad at that. I get it. This is an emotional game. But what I saw next, I've seen it a lot. I've seen it across football for years, and I absolutely hate it. I see a Youngstown State player consoling this kid that he just beat on the field. Mind you, they're running into each other at full force, trying to kill each other. You play a banger of a football game. Your team just gets an upset. You don't get many wins. And you're sitting here consoling the guy you just beat? Call me like a bad sport or whatever you want to do, but I'm sorry. I'm not consoling your ass. For the next 5 minutes, you can shove it. I'm going to go celebrate with my guys that I went through 2 days with, that went through this 100-degree heat, that struggled, blood, sweat, and tears. That's what I'm going to do. But you know what? It's been this whole. Who was the NFL player that did it? Had the picture. Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs. It's the Stefon Diggs effect. You're not doing it because you want to be a nice guy. You're doing it because you want the camera on you. And that shit makes me sick. I don't even like the notion of, I'm going to help you up after every single play. No. This is a violent game. I don't know. That irks me. Am I wrong for that?
Very much so.
Whatever.
It's two guys.
You can shove it too.
It's two guys going to war against each other, like you said, giving their all every single play, bashing heads, cracking skulls.
But is your first move
Listen,
gonna be?
I let you go. I let you go. It's two guys who gave everything they had on that field. One wins, one loses. They both live to fight another day. You got a long trip home. Celebrate with your guys in the long trip home. Celebrate with your guys in the locker room. At that point, it's about being respectful because you both gave it your all. Showing respect, showing gratitude for playing this game at that type of a level, showing love for the same things that you mentioned, two-a-days, practices, games, a long season, showing love and respect and admiration to another guy when they're down the most, telling them that this is still your thing. Keep up what you're doing. I love that.
That's not my first instinct. My first instinct is going to be celebrate with my guys.
Whistle.
After that, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to show you love. But in this first moment, my first instinct is not going to be your fucking therapist. I'm celebrating with my team, and then we can shake hands right after. These guys are not doing this to be good sports. They're doing it for this.
I disagree, man.
Why is that your first move?
Because you just went to war with somebody. You just literally went to war. It's like
the hell with that.
UFC, boxing.
That's
two guys just gave it their all.
And then the guy, before he does anything, he jumps on the cage and does his celebration, and then they go and show love.
Not always. Nick,
I'm celebrating with my boys.
Listen, whistle to whistle, bell to bell. We've talked about it before. I don't think we've ever talked about it on here. When I was a college football player, I had a notepad about the size of this. I would shove it in my pants, take it to every single sideline of every single game. That notepad contained everything I needed to know about the personal lives of the 4 starting defensive linemen or 3 starting defensive linemen that were lined up in front of me. That notepad had girlfriends' names, fiancés' names, sisters' names, mothers' names. In one case, a gentleman that we played against had a 17-year-old daughter who I had her name, and his son was 13. I had his name written down on it. Just asking how their grades were going. That's all I asked. I mean, literally just lined up on the ball. How's such and such's grade in Algebra 2 going? What? How did you know that? Smack. So, Nick, I'm that guy. I have so much dirt coming out to every single game that I go to. So much. But when it's all over, when the clock strikes 0, 100%, yes, I'm excited. I'm pumped up over the win. shake my guys' hands, hug my guys, but I am consoling the other team, and I'm always being respectful, and I'm staying after the game and chatting with the other team. Nick, that's me. I feel like you just went to war with somebody. You went through mental war, physical war, verbal war. You got to show love and gratitude when the game is over because you're a different person when that clock strikes 0 than you are when that clock strikes 15.
If my team just won a walk-off game in dramatic fashion, my first thought is not to pick up this guy and tell him it's going to be okay and rock him. I'm sorry, it's not happening. I am going to be ecstatic. I'm going to celebrate with my guys in that given moment because you don't get that very often in football. So right after that, I can go and shake your hand. We can show love and respect, but I'm sorry that is not my first move. I'm not going to console you for this loss. We can talk after.
What positions did they play?
I don't even give a shit.
What position did you play?
Defensive back, safety,
What position did I play?
line,
What side of the ball?
offense.
It's a mentality thing, baby. You defensive pricks. You guys are dirt bags. You guys are dirty. You guys
We're
are
just different.
cornballs.
We're just built different.
All you care about is waking up in the morning, smoking a pack of unfiltered Pall Malls, drinking a protein shake with a couple Budweisers in it, and all that fun stuff. You nasty defensive shits. Sorry,
All right, listen.
Mutant
listen,
Mike.
Listen.
Go ahead and rant again.
You know what else pisses me off? Casuals. SEC stands. Somewhere, I have no idea where it came from, but this notion of having a weak schedule apparently means that you're a weak team. I don't see the math. It's not mathing. You cannot control your schedule. You can only control what you do with your schedule. This is not picked by the team. You can pick your out of conference games. You don't pick your conference games. Because Indiana didn't pick their conference games doesn't mean they're a weak team. Penn State, it's the same thing. I've seen it. Texas, it's the same thing. I've seen it across the board saying, "Oh, this team shouldn't be ranked this. That's not your fourth best team. That's not your, you know, third best team, whatever." Shut the fuck up. Where does this even It's this illiterate country bumpkin SEC educations or some schmuck from Missouri who says, "Oh, we're part of the SEC. We got Missouri Tigers." Never been to a football game a day in his life that say this bullshit and put it out on the internet. This shit drives me up a wall, and we already talked a little bit about it, but you have these SEC teams that are losing games and they're literally on the brink of being 3 losses and being done. Okay, but they want to sit here and say, "Oh, this the schedule here in the SEC, it's just different. It just means a lot more. It's way harder." No, they have piss poor losses. Okay, I'm gonna run it back. We talked about it already. Nobody wants to talk about how inconsistent these teams have been, with Ole Miss losing to a 4-6 Kentucky and LSU, who is literally slipping and about to lose it all. I think they're on upset alert. I'm going to say that right now. I think that might be my biggest upset alert of this week. You have Bama, who lost to Vandy when they shouldn't have lost to Vandy. Vandy lost to Georgia State. Okay. Vandy lost to Georgia State. I do not want to hear about how tough it is in these poor SEC programs. A 2-loss, 3-loss doesn't mean you should get in. Okay. I don't understand where this logic comes from. And quite honestly, I shouldn't understand because it's casual football fans that don't make sense or SEC stands. I don't know why I'm even mad about it, but God, it drives me up a fucking wall.
Next topic.
That's it.
All right.
That's all I got.
Well, Nick, it's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun. I think I did that the opposite way of what it's supposed to be. But my closing thoughts of the night. Nick, we're about to do this together. We're about to have,
One person.
yeah, in person. We're about to have one camera set up, two mics, some chairs. Hopefully not lawn chairs, but some chairs. It's real. It's here. After 13 years, I'm home. Paperwork's done. Closing's
wild.
Tuesday. Everything's done out of the way. Boxes are packed. Not all of them. Most of them are packed. I'm gonna be home, man. And it is gonna be fun. And this is college football related, but not entirely. It's gonna be fun having quality time with the people that I care about the most. It's gonna be fun rebuilding relationships that have kind of faltered a little bit and haven't taken priority over the past few years. It's going to be fun when I'm down and when I'm low, not having to pick up the phone and call somebody, just driving to somebody's house to spend that time with them, and vice versa. When my friends like yourself, my brothers like yourself, are down and they're low, all they have to do is just drive over to the house, pop a squat, and everything just goes back to the way it's supposed to be. I think this is the best time for me in my life right now. I think Tennessee beating Georgia would have changed even more for me, but that's okay. Shit happens. But this is going to be a beautiful transition in life. I think we're going to be able to start doing more with what we're wanting to do more with, and that's the Saturday sermon. I think we're going to be able to make this more entertaining by coming together and collaborating together on different ideas and different projects and things that we wanted to do during the season, like maybe watching a game live and just sitting on the couch with a cooler in between us, just riffing and having a great time. But Nick, this is real, man. It's real. It's been talked about for the past couple of years, but now it's coming to fruition. It's a real thing. The papers have been signed. The check is sitting on the counter, ready for a dollar amount to be added in, which we got our dollar amount today, and we're very, very happy with that at the closing costs. Nick, it's gonna be great, man. It's here. It's finally here, man. 13 years, going on 13 years later. It has been a hell of a journey living in Jacksonville. It's been a hell of a life experience being a part of, or being alone and being apart from my family and my friends. It's been incredible to be able to find out who I am as a person and grow over these past 13-ish years. But now I get to take all the growth and bring it back to the people who deserve to be around us, my family, my friends. You guys deserve to be around us. And I'm excited, man. It's real. We're talking about maybe next Friday getting together and sitting there at the house before the chaos really, really ensues, and maybe drinking a couple cold ones or drinking a couple cold waters and just looking around, because by that time all the painting should be done, everything should be ready for that next day for move-in to happen, and just really having a time with just a couple of the boys and just really processing it together that this is real. And it's I got to be with my best friends, I got to be with my brothers again, and I'm excited. I'm jazzed. I'm thrilled. Not a huge fan of the house, and yes, I did just say that publicly so everyone can see it. And Melissa, if you make it this far through the pod, you know.
She's not seeing it.
But it has potential to be a great house. Just got to get that damn wallpaper down and got to get it painted. But excited, Nick. That's my closing thoughts, man. My closing thoughts are I'm excited to be able to riff and watch the games with the guys and the friends that matter the most to me. And maybe you never know. We might have Big Joe with his one leg as a guest.
One-legged Joe on the pod. That
Talking
sounds
about-
like money.
Talking about Alabama. Alabama's going to be the national championship this year. All right.
Hey, they might. They
Put $100
very
on it,
well
you're winning
might.
10,000. I think is what the line is, or you're winning. Yeah, I think it's 10,000 for $100.
Buy a new leg with that money.
Yeah, he's got one.
But
He's got one.
no, man. Oh, like you can buy another one. Shit. No, but yeah, dude, it's crazy. I think really it opens. I mean, obviously outside, it goes without being said. Outside of the pod, you got the whole family coming home. That's gonna be awesome. But pertains to the pod, it's only gonna, sky's kind of the limit. We're gonna be able to do a lot more stuff. Lastly, I did just purchase 26 blank hats because I should have done this 11 weeks ago, but didn't I didn't do it for whatever reason. I'm gonna throw some I've been making some designs, so hopefully maybe throw it on the socials. I'm gonna have a online store, college football themed hats. I got a couple cool things coming down, so kind of excited about that.
Just do me a favor, brother.
Be on the lookout.
I like the designs. I think the designs and the quotes, and I don't know how much in depth I could get in this without spoiling anything, but I think the ideas that you have are pretty solid. I think they're pretty great. The only thing I'm requesting is don't put team logos upside down. I hate that. When people take like the Vols name upside down, it just doesn't make any sense. But Nick can't hear anything I'm saying right now, which is awesome. But yeah, well, I'll tell you what. It's been a great episode of the Saturday Sermon while Nick tries to figure out his headphones.
I can't hear a word you're saying.
Keep football holy, and we're out.
Yep, and the podcast, The Saturday Sermon.
The Saturday Sermon.
Look right here, man.